So, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. And we are, what is it? Armchair quarterback. Monday, I don't know. Monday looking back and going over the highlights and all that stuff. That's the whole sports stuff. Huge in California because sports teams are so expensive. A lot of different things happened during some of these events. I remember the World Series in '89. That was crazy. When San Francisco and Oakland were playing in the World Series baseball over there. I forget what that stadium was called over there, but it's a huge stadium. Was it Candlestick Point? I don't know. But anyway, it's fine. But it was '89 and they had an earthquake. So when you think about, oh shit, some significant events happening when two teams are playing, what is the significance of the teams playing and the events? Wow. Because, oh my gosh. Okay. So, I never got into sports I never got into the basketball, the football, and the baseball. But that's corporate America. And that's even other parts of the world when it's all they have is sports, is their team. But corporate America, yeah, it's all about the team and the sports and the competition, the dog eat dog. And yeah, even those that are not like the blue collar workers, they have their teams. But I want to make a note of this so I don't forget. I'm going to write this down. Okay. Remember the World Series game between, what is it, the SF Giants, right, and Oakland A's, and then the 1989 earthquake. Holy shiz! When you start making connections, man, it's kind of crazy. Okay, so I had to write that down. That's funny. That's some funny shit, man. And I remember the '89 quake because that was some devastating stuff. That was some major devastating stuff. So anyways, all right. So I didn't watch the game last night. I chose not to. I was watching Grey's Anatomy and all that. And I just wanted to know the scores because I knew the scores would be significant, especially now that I have a lot more of the information behind me. Hindsight is 2020, and you have to let events play out and then finally make the connections. Like right now with the sports industry and with this whole climate change and New World Order stuff and all the conspiracy industry, all of those are connected. It's just a matter of how do you connect them. Yeah, you could say like the Illuminati and rituals, but there is even another storyline besides what some of the conspiracy world has put out there. Yeah, some of them are they're promoting certain therapies that people are against. Okay, there's that. And then there's the whole thing with celebrity worship and Taylor Swift. And then, I have my storyline attached to it. And then I'm remembering back when I was a kid and we were watching the Super Bowl of Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and Ronnie Lott. And I remember when I met Ronnie Lott when I was a kid in the '80s, I was like, oh my God, Ronnie Lott, the greatest football hero ever, because he visited the pediatrics ward in Valley Medical Center when I was a candy striper. And I was so excited. It was just like, oh my gosh. Because back then, yeah, San Francisco was a dynasty, and that's the height of the technology. Biotech, computer tech, between 1980 and even beyond that. But that was the whole running dynasty. And so why do you think Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and Steve Young and others were so prolific in the '80s, winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl? Which NFL team won the most Super Bowls in the '80s? And that was San Francisco 49ers. Between 1980 and 1989 season, the San Francisco 49ers had the most wins by a team in Super Bowls with 4 wins. Okay? And so then I'm looking at what the game last night, and then my perspective of the Midwest, the new trade zone, the new trade center. The fall of New York happened in 2001. The fall of California and San Francisco is happening right now as we speak. Okay? I mean, if you've been paying attention, if you live in Southern California and you've seen some of the tornadoes and the mudslides, and even parts of Hollywood are being washed away, mudslides, okay? I mean, come on, it's not going to take rocket science when it's right in front of your face, but you know how people are. They're like, oh no. And so the San Francisco Bay Area was the hub of the tech industry, biotech, computer technology. So now when you're thinking about all the tech world is moving to the Midwest. Some of the companies are moving to the Midwest. The coasts are going to be, basically, they're becoming irrelevant. And Middle America is going to be the place. Even Middle America will have their own issues, but it's the coast. The most populated, 39 million in California. How many people live on the east, on the eastern seaboard, all the way down to Florida? Florida, the retirement capital of the world. Okay? And we're places where people go when they're in their 20s and they don't really have a direction, so they play in the tourism industry. Bartenders, what is it? Hospitality, right? Vacations. I like living in a vacation spot. I lived in Hawaii. I lived in Florida. Yeah, I could see the attraction, be on vacation for the rest of your life. I get it. All right. So anyways, yeah. And so the San Francisco Bay Area was the hub of the tech industry, biotech, computer technology, and now it's the fall of San Francisco. And I didn't even know they moved out of Candlestick Park back in 2013. 2012, I was in the height of the beginning of my conspiracy world. And so I wasn't even paying attention to the football clubs, right? So why do you think the expensive teams won so many Super Bowls? Because the area was economically a winner at the moment, or was soon to be a loser, a major one, and that was 9/11. Or the cowboys in the oil industry, right? The East Coast Center, like New York Giants and New England Patriots, very expensive club. But then 9/11, 2001, the World Trade Center, and now New York was defeated. On Sunday, January 28, 2001, the Ravens kept their promise and defeated the New York Giants 34-7. 7-7, what the hell? 3 and 4 is 7, 7. You look at the numbers again, that's crazy. 7 is a complete cycle or something, right? Yeah, 2001 was to be a complete cycle. The fall of America. That was just the height of the beginning. That was the beginning of the conspiracy world as well. All right, so then Ray Lewis earned Super Bowl XXXV MVP honors as well as Defensive Player of the Year. And I said even Miami. I haven't really looked into when the Dolphins ever won. I'm sure they did when I forget what was going on at the time. But hey, for shits and giggles, go Google all the Super Bowls since who knows when and figure out what was going on economically and all that, and you can have fun with that. That's what I'm saying. The fun of the conspiracy world is to make the connections and be like, oh my gosh. but that's if you have the time, right? I'm sure if you look hard enough, you could find patterns of the economics of the time and who the Super Bowl winners, losers are and were. Sometimes a banana is not a banana. There's a larger backstory and also sign for the people in the areas and industries represented by their football club. So sometimes, yeah, the who wins and who loses is letting those that are understanding what's going on because they're part of it. They're like, okay, Mr. High up there on the pyramid just said that, okay, the Giants are going to get defeated, so that's a sign that the kickoff is happening pretty soon when it comes to this new climate change. And climate change happened in 2001. That's what 9/11 was the beginning of climate change, when you think about it. Because before that, it was 2000, 1999, the 90s, but it was the 2000s was the actual climate change. And then the more aggressive climate change that is almost indisputable was 2020. But even then, people still deny climate change. So what's going to be the next thing? Well, we're embarking on that right now. Okay? It's all a conditioning process. You can't just cold turkey get off of an addiction. You can't just take on an addiction. It happens progressively. Getting off addictions and taking on addictions happens over time. All right? And also change doesn't happen like that. Change happens over time. And so you're working with a billion storylines out there. One day there will be one storyline, everyone will be on the same page, and there'll be no reason to debate anything. Because either your opponents, right, whoever they are not alive, so who's there to argue with, right? Or the evidence is so indisputable, and it's not going to be like, we're going to be like, okay, Biden's come out and say, okay, all the conspiracy stuff was just April Fool. We're done with the conspiracy stuff. We'll go back to 1985, and everyone go back to campfires and kumbaya and whatever. It's not going to be like that. So eventually, there'll be evidence so indisputable that the conspiracy world will be like, yeah, I told you so. But once you get to that point of vindication, the train literally has left the station. It's done. And you don't want to be vindicated, but you do, but you don't, but you do, but you don't, because you're tired of being laughed at, tired of people saying you're stupid or whatever. But at this point, it doesn't even matter. Because those that are laughing at you haven't done anything to change the way they do stuff. They've been too busy laughing at you and saying that you're stupid and trying to counter you and resist you. That's their own fucking fault. Okay? Because either your opponents are not alive or the evidence is indisputable. From my vantage point, Ohio grows young football players and then they are parsed out and used as tools if they make it to the big leagues. That's why the Cleveland Browns haven't been anything. I mean, they did win a few this last year. They were coming up there, right? But really it's the Kansas City Chiefs were going to be the representation, not Cleveland Browns. It was Kansas City. That's fine. I mean, I really don't have any, I don't care who does. And so I'm going down my timeline. So I'm going to go from the actual revelation, the epiphany after all the evidence has been laid out, so you can see where my thought process came from. But you'll see the actual outcome of the thought process versus the building up to. Okay. And so with all the warnings we have given people with the Tower of Babel of solutions that work against each other, that was just a way to keep us distracted. Who's us? The truthers. Into thinking we had some kind of say how to head off the New World Order to another direction. So you see all the different people who are anti-V, anti-chemtrail, anti-GMO, anti-air, food, and water, and anti-Wi-Fi and all that stuff. And they're giving you Faraday cages and remedies and anti-radiation suits. Okay, and food mitigation diets and, an herb or an extract or an operation or some voodoo shit, energy healing crap or some chakra manipulation or some massage. All right. I mean, that was all Tower of Babel, and that was developed in the 1960s. And of course, then the religions, all that. So we were used as alarm bells because the system wanted you to believe something was happening because it was happening. And some people had to believe it to prepare for it. So then you had the Alex Jones of the world. Okay? And then you had the countering forces of the Democrats. Like, oh gosh, anti-Alex Jones and then for Alex Jones and all that. So you had those like Alex Jones and Luke Radowski and all the different, Bitcoin guys and the Ron Paul people and all that, right? So, and then you had those that were in the left that were saying what they were saying, feeling, maligned and trying to save the women and all of that. So you had those two sides playing off each other. And so some people had to believe it to prepare for it. I'm sure some people were purposely leaked documents or emails or something to then be the whistleblower. Maybe it was organic. I don't know. You never know what lurks in the hearts of men. You never know who is a plant who came upon things organically, who put it all together because they had access to documents that gave them a condensed version of what the playbook could potentially be. and giving them certain storylines, well, not all the storylines, but at least it was enough storyline to counter the mainstream one, so you can come off as, wow, I have a different thought process, like a third party, the independents, right? And so that was the whole conspiracy world. It was, hey, certain people were leaked certain things, they were exposed to certain things, and now they became relevant in the conspiracy world. Okay? And so anyways, so some people had to believe it to prepare for it. How do you warn people to do one thing when they have told you to do another thing for so many years? You develop a truth community. But still, there's no guarantee you'll survive the outcome. All right? Even warning people who won't do anything really to save them, it just gets them prepared. Just because somebody sells you a freaking anti-radiation suit doesn't mean that you're going to be now immune to radiation. Just because someone sells you a diet means that, you're going to save yourself from what? The poisonous food? It just gives people something to do, to feel like they're doing something because they know something is wrong, so they have to do something. They don't even know what the hell it is, but they're doing something because the story that someone told them about what they should do sounds good at the moment until it doesn't work anymore. And then they're going to another thing, and that was the holistic community. Okay? Yet, there's nothing you can do, and there was nothing you can do, and there is nothing you can do to save anyone else. So you either have what it takes or you don't to survive climate change. Because even the stuff that I have, not everyone's going to understand it. Not everyone is going to be able to implement it. They may understand it intellectually, but biophysically and even their infrastructure may not support that kind of change that needs to happen. Okay? So no matter what, it's either you're going to do something different and have done something different. Even in your head, you've figured out what you have to do and you're laying the groundwork slowly. And so even though, you're not there yet, whatever that means, you're on your way and you've already seen through the harder things, which is the surprises that people are not expecting, that people usually get scared of. And then, you can survive them. And so even though you're not there yet, whatever that means, you know how to survive each layer of awakening the mycoplasma, whatever, right? I had hives yesterday. My husband came home after he was helping somebody clean up their boat. He came home early because he left early, and we hung out and watched Moneyball, and that was a good movie. But I had a bunch of hives. I said, "Honey, look at my hives." He's like, "Jesus, is something wrong with you, Julie?" No, it's just the frequencies. I even had a little bit of arm pain this morning, but it disappeared. But yeah, the frequencies, the hives. Okay. And so you either have what it takes or you don't to survive climate change. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty intense. So I have hives and I know how to deal with them. Not a big deal. I feed them. I even take a little nap after eating spaghetti. I've been eating spaghetti almost every day this week. And it reminds me again of when I was PMSing and I would eat like a pound of spaghetti to survive my PMS. And I've heard people that even in the diet suddenly worlds, that people are taking lots of craps and they're getting skinnier and skinnier. Yeah, when your body is purging out the antigen that doesn't belong, you have to now feed your body to replace that energy that was lost through those like aggressive diarrheas. I've heard people say that person is having so much diarrhea that they went to the hospital because it was so much diarrhea that then they're trying to stop it. I'm like, yeah, there's so much diarrhea because the body's trying to drain all of the antigen out of the body. Now you have to eat food to replace the energy being lost. See, when you have diarrhea, regardless of where it came from, and I'm not saying do waterfalls and Jeju's because you'll trap the beast inside because you'll cure yourself and get constipated. But when you have so much diarrhea that came out of nowhere, the frequencies woke up something in your immune system and activated and caused that aggressive diarrhea, no different than someone who was bleeding profusely, liters of blood on a plane because the frequencies broke the blood vessels and blood came out. But you can't replace blood that's lost. And if your blood vessels break when you're high up in the air because of the pressure changes, then you might be done. And that guy did die from so much blood loss when he lost liters and liters of blood. But when you're diarrheaing so much because something triggered it, then now you have to eat meat, milk, cheese, eggs, fruits, vegetables. You have to eat so much food to replace that energy loss. That's basically the old world in your body leaving when you're diarrheaing so much, and it's like spontaneous diarrhea. So how do you deal with something like that? You eat food. Your body's releasing for a reason, because you held so much energy in the body because of all the medications and things of the like, and you were cured in a specific way in the old world. Now with this climate change, the body is now activated and it's releasing demons. And what people are doing right now that is working against them is trapping those demons inside, causing fast moving cancers. So if you're lucky enough to be diarrheaing because of a spontaneous situation, then it's time to go look in your cabinet and eat the spaghetti, eat the meat, milk, cheese, eggs. And if you get congested, blow your nose, blow your nose, blow your nose. But then of course, if you have food allergies, then you have to play that very carefully. Okay? But what's going on in the died suddenly world is people are having spontaneous diarrhea that they can't stop, and it's draining their life force, and they're not replacing that energy. They're now essentially starving to death. That's the issue with those in the died suddenly groups. And they're being recommended all the different detoxes and all the different medications and herbal remedies. And that's not going to fucking work in this environment. Food is the only answer. Meat, milk, cream, cheese, eggs, fruits, vegetables, gluten, bread, rest. Okay? That's what's going to rebuild everything inside the body, and you have to release demons. What is that? Well, blow your nose, cough, sneeze. Obviously, you have no problem shitting if you're having spontaneous diarrhea. Now you got to replace that energy. And if you don't, you will waste away. Because I then saw somebody in the diet group say, oh, wait, that person is losing so much weight. Yeah, because you're losing their life force. You have to replace it with food. Meat, milk, cheese, eggs, fruits, vegetables, and all that stuff. Gluten. You either have what it takes or you don't to survive climate change. And if you have been paying attention, the indicators are there if you're not in a safe place to ride out the changes. So if you're in the coast of California, if you're on the coast of Florida, if you're on the coast, even the East Coast, right next to, the beach, it's just a matter of time. Just a matter of freaking time. If you're in an earthquake-prone area, it's just a matter of time. If you're in a flood zone, it's just a matter of time. If you're up in the mountains, it's just a matter of time before snow drifts and mudslides and rain. It's just a matter of time. That's why I analyzed my area very carefully after the fact. I wasn't planning to live here because I knew something was going to happen. I didn't even discover the conspiracy world until I met my husband. I met him in 2010 on the internet because I was so beaten down by the insurance community by trying to keep up with corporate America in California with my PMS. There's no fucking way I was going to do that. And I couldn't marry into anything because what do men want out there in California? They want women just like them. Under the influence, hot and sexual, and have some kind of major education behind them. And I wasn't fitting any of those parameters. So I had to find something different. I had to leave California. Thank God. Seriously, thank the universe that I left California. So I've analyzed now, after all of the conspiracy world, and then watching the pandemic ramp up, I'm looking at my area going like, okay, I made the right decision, not even know I made the right decision. Even meet my husband, he's Canton, of all places. And it's interesting that Guangzhou in China, where I stayed at for the 2 weeks out of the 3 weeks that I was there, Canton was also the name of Guangzhou. And I'm like, how that's so synchronistic, because I traveled with a student or with a classmate when I was in San Francisco, and she was she was on a visa, and I helped her through anthropology class actually. And so we were studying in the coffee shops, and I was helping them with the whole English thing, second language thing, helping them study for anthropology. And then she was saying that, she's going to be transferring to UCLA, but she's going back home. And I'm like, hey, I would love to see China. Well, she had her dad lives in Guangzhou, Canton, China. All right. And then I moved to Canton, Ohio. I'm telling you, man, there's some weird synchronistic things that I'm just like, it blows my fucking mind. It literally blows my mind. The synchronicity that I've been observing the last 7 years, even the last 20 years. And meeting my husband was, I can't even say it was, I don't even know. I don't even know. I can't explain it. I can't even explain it. But even then, you could be in a safer place than most, and you still have a crappy body to deal with. So just being here in Ohio, in Northeast Ohio, even in Canton or Akron or wherever, if you have a crappy immune system and you're such in deficit, it doesn't matter how safe you are as far as geographically, biophysically, you may not even survive the frequencies. So even being in a safer area is no guarantee you all will survive. You can't even survive your own immune system. So first you have to look if you're in the safer area, and then you have to look at if you have an immune system that can handle climate change, and you set up the parameters so you can release demons and take on substance and sleep when you need to. And that's, again, people have to make that choice. And so you want to know why those tickets to the Super Bowl were so expensive, like $12,000 or up to even more than $200,000 a ticket. And then Travis Kelce spent $1 million on the box for Taylor Swift and his family. $1 million for that. Well, that's money well spent. He won. Of course he won. It's not because of the players. Football players are grown all over the place. They grow them here in Ohio. They grow them They grow them in Idaho. They grow them everywhere. Okay? In areas that are meat, milk, cheese, eggs, and are bred on meat, milk, cheese, eggs, and fruits and vegetables, but more meat, milk, and cheese, right? It's not about the game. Events like these are for those who are part of the rituals, who have the money. What are rituals? Well, see, I've been in the conspiracy world for such a long time that, to me, I know about rituals. Religious rituals, pagan rituals. You see those, like Hebrews or born-again Christians, or even some Christians, or even Muslim. Like, oh gosh, that's so pagan, that's so devilish, that's so satanic. Oh yeah, I've been in those worlds where they're pointing out every single holiday is satanic, pagan. Okay? Yeah, potentially. But remember, they have to keep the balance. You can't have too much growth. And you can't have too much death. Obviously, they're not trying to kill everybody. All right? Or else you don't have a humanity. So there's got to be rituals to keep the balance of both life and death, and also give people the choice. All right? So events like these are for those who are part of the rituals, who have the money. The movers and shakers, the titans of industries, right? Those that go to Bilderberg, or what was the other one? Bohemian Grove. These guys were evenly matched. There really is nothing remarkable about people who are trained to play games. Remember, they are professionals. Watching professionals do what they do, are supposed to do, whatever, are not too remarkable. My husband's a professional truck driver. Watching him drive a truck, okay. You know, watching a football game and watch people drive trucks and navigate between all the four-wheelers who don't give a shit about truck drivers. I mean, I'll tell you, when I was on the truck with him, I was able to sleep very well. Very well. Okay, so when you can sleep very good when someone's driving, you know they're a good driver, you trust them. Right? So my husband's a great truck driver. Well, these guys are great football players. And when they have the earpieces in their ear, because they have to listen to the coach tell them, oh, go here, go left, go right, and all that stuff. And also, hey, don't block this guy, go left, don't go right, and then leaves Travis Kelce open to do whatever. Take evenly matched people and purposely slow them down so something else can come up. It's not that difficult, right? So watching professionals do what they do is not too remarkable, okay? There's another storyline attached to football that some people would pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for it to be part of, especially a game as significant as this in the year that we're in. And so remember, I gave you my perspective and storyline based upon everything I've been exposed to the last 50 years. the fall of the coast, the rise of the Midwest, and even the reconfiguration of the Midwest. Butler County Sheriff in Ohio telling us we're not in a good way. Be prepared for anything. He's arming people 30 at a time. You know, what was another reel that said that San Diego took down cameras over there on the coastline? I mean, okay. Remember, I gave you my perspective and storyline based upon everything I've been exposed to the last 50 years. I have no reason to watch the game. I had no reason, but I wanted to know the score. I wanted to see the numbers because numbers are significant. You won't know the significance until you see patterns, and that's when you study everything along with remembering everything that you studied before and then watching them play out again in different ways. Remember, even with Brock Purdy, number 13, his number, his shirt number or whatever, and then even the 13 game, the 13th Super Bowl, and even Taylor Swift, who's all about the 13, didn't mean that he was going to win. People thought that. But what if it was the actual opposite? You know, it was, because I brought in another story. It wasn't like I just, you know, randomly picked the Kansas City Chiefs. I developed a storyline behind it, okay? That's sometimes what it takes, to understand even the storylines that are happening right now behind it. Brock Purdy thought his 13 aligned with football 13. Boy, was he mistaken. It's not just the numbers you look at, it's how they're being used. No, that was Taylor Swift's number 13. You know what she is a symbol of? Anton LaVey, igniting the Midwest to be the next trade center. And I will say Ohio will be the one to be reconstructed first, I bet you, with the Butler County Sheriff coming out. But even then, I can't be sure, right? But after the Butler County Sheriff, I am almost positive it might be the kickoff here, but it could be in San Diego. It could be in New York. Who the hell knows? Or Florida. But I digress. Number 11 was a main number like 9/11. 33 and 11, because even Mike was saying, someone else was commenting that Al Davis and 33 and over there in Las Vegas, the Allegiant Stadium and all that, okay? So, 33 and 11. The stadium can only hold 65,000. 6 and 5 is 11, right? When you add the scores up at the end of the game, it came out to be 11. When they were tied, 19-19. 1919 or 1616, 7 and 7, if you turn it upside down. I mean, it's all fun to play with numbers and see and try to figure out what the meaning is at the time. Okay? So please don't get confused that, oh gosh, they should have been giving money to the poor and all that stuff. So I see people on Facebook, they're saying, oh gosh, the tickets are so expensive. They should be giving that money to the poor and the veterans and this and that. And I don't understand why it's so expensive. I'm not ever watching football. I'm like, come on. All right. People say, I'm not watching football because it's so overpriced and everything else. All the poor people need all the money, bleeding heart Republicans and liberals. Or people watch it for the commercials, like advertising the different therapies, hating on the spokesman for these companies. It's way beyond the VACCINES's people, right? Because they're bashing Pfizer. That was just the kickoff in 2020 after the climate change, waking up people's demons, warranting the therapies. It's beyond the V's, guys. It's beyond the V's. There's a larger story that people shield their eyes from because it's too crazy for them to even contemplate. That's why they don't understand numbers and prices. And to try to sanitize it with emotion and religion and politics, events like the Super Bowl, yeah, no, you can't sanitize what's going on with your emotional way of looking at how they are pricing things and the numbers and all that. There, again, it's larger than your bleeding heart liberal or Republican way of looking at shit. No, the Super Bowl is a major ritualistic event. Those who are part of those rituals, who have the money, could afford those tickets if they wanted to go. The average layperson will watch it from their internet or television and just be entertained. No, I wasn't watching it to be entertained. I could care less. It's just professionals do what professionals do, play games and told where to go and when to go. I wanted to see the numbers. I wanted to confirm everything that I thought the last few days. And so you live in a very different world, as you obviously have seen. So again, I could care less about the Kansas City Chiefs or even the 49ers. It was the backstory I was interested in. I received my confirmation. If the 49ers would have won, I would have explained it away. It's easy to do. But there's no reason why the 49ers would win. There's no reason for it. There's a reason why they would lose. And then you see San Diego take down stuff. And California's going through tornadoes and hurricanes and earthquakes and who knows what. Okay, so there's a reason why the 49ers would lose, just like the New York Giants back in 2001. There's a reason why they lost to the Ravens. Atlanta Ravens? Yeah. The South. So down the North. Holy shit. Or was it the Orioles? No, it was, I forget, whatever. That's fine. Well, I can go back. Anyways. So I received my confirmation like the 49ers would have won. If the 49ers would have won, I would have also explained that away. So I received my confirmation. But it made more sense that the Kansas City won. There's no turning back. There is no turning back. The whole event was was ushering in the New World Order, especially for the West. We all will be on the same page at some point. There'll be no dispute. There'll be no, oh, Jillian's a conspiracy theorist. I'm a mainstreamer. I think everything is hearts and flowers and fantasy and go 49ers. Right? Okay. When that happens, you don't want that to happen. The suffering meant you were alive when you were under the duress of trying to prove to your friends and family we live in a fucked up world. You know how many people have suffered in the truth of the world trying to warn their friends? I don't know what they were going to do. Their solution was to rise up and do this and do that. People don't just rise up. You got to be organized. And even then, when you're organized and you end up going to the Capitol like January 6th, then what? You saw what happened there. So no matter how many warnings we all gave to everyone, it would have made a difference. But we wanted to prove that we knew something was not right. I knew something was not right back when I was a fucking kid. I knew something wasn't right for many years. I knew shit was not right for many years. I just couldn't put my finger on it. And I would bet you they still don't believe it. I will bet you they're laughing at me right now, so it doesn't even matter. Okay, so once we're on the same page, it'll be a rest in peace for many people. That's why it's kind of a fucked up thing that people look forward to vindication. But that would mean a lot of things that they were afraid of are going to happen. Vindication is a double-edged sword. Once you get vindicated, it's not going to be a good time. It's a short-lived smugness. And nobody wins except for those who are writing the playbook and executing the playbook as we speak. That's the world you live in. Okay? So you really don't want to win, but you want to win. But once you win, it's game over. So that's the thing. You really don't want to win, no matter what. Whether it's staying in the mainstream or being in the conspiracy world. You really don't want to win. Because again, that's game over. You want the game to stay playing, but eventually that game is going to end. There will be a winner and loser. Regardless. And we're not going back to 1985, just so you know. So if we're not going back to 1985 and we have a huge amount of truthers out there, they're going like, holy shit, something's happening. Yeah. I got to write that down. Give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. I need to write this down. You really do not want to win because once you win, it is game over for many. Playing the games was life. Once there is a winner, loser, game over. And that's the double-edged sword in the truther community. Once they declare a winner or a loser, it is game over. It is a major game over. And yeah, that's not going to be good. Yeah, it's not going to be good. All right, so I knew who's they, Kansas City would win. Not by the numbers. I said 5 or 7, but 3 is just as good. I said, welcome to the New World Order. By the way, I didn't watch the game. I just checked the scores. See you later, San Francisco. You had a good run since 1849. And so I added everything up, 25 to 22, 3-point difference. 2 and 5 is 7, plus 2, 9, 10, 11. In numerology, 11 is considered to be a significant moment in time for an event to occur. All right. And so I watched that movie Moneyball. Watch it on Netflix. It's interesting. Around science behind putting together a baseball team using science versus money. I love when people use strategy versus throwing money at things. Winning isn't all about how much money you spent to win. Sometimes it's a strategy of using losers that win games. Tearing down to rebuild without costing an arm and a leg. I like non-traditional ways. Okay. And so we're living 5 minutes to midnight. It is hell living in 5 minutes to midnight, like a hospice patient hanging on, suffering, just waiting for it all to end. Don't worry, that day will come. The pressure will release. Hugs. One day, all of us will be on the same page, and that will be the new world order. What do you mean the same page? All of us will see everything for what it is and be in agreement finally. What kind of agreement? You'll find out. I'm not going to go into this right now. I'm not going to do that. That's pretty much all I'm going to say. Okay. I know I was programmed for something. How it turns out, it could have been something. I'll tell you. I'm glad I never was exposed to violence. Okay? Because when you've been exposed to violence and then have been programmed in a specific way, that's how you get Charles Manson and serial killers. Because I remember my mother accidentally cutting herself and all that blood. That was crazy. That was traumatic, given all the shit that was going on during that time. And then later on, me having such an aversion to knives and having an issue around knives. I don't like knives. It was just a weird, weird thing that never came to surface, thank gosh. But I released those demons. But yeah, if I had been exposed to more of blood and gore, I can only imagine how stuff could take a turn for a different direction. Okay? So I'm glad that my mother did not show both my sister and I violence at all at the time. That we both used our heads, academics, intellectual capability to see ourselves out of situations and also survive situations. But we were not bred to be killers. But there are people out there that were bred, that maybe the programming, they were cavalier about the programming. They knew how to program their kid in a certain way, but also then that kid was exposed to violence and then was able to actually carry out a murder. And this is a woman. Okay? So I suspect some of the women that were convicted of murder and are languishing in prison, whether it's death row or for life, they had some programming and they were hot and they were intellectually capable. They were very articulate and were chasing love and relationship. And when they were jilted, ended up destroying the person. And that's why be very careful who it is you get your girls with and your boys with, because you have no idea what people's backgrounds are. But I know for a fact we did not have that programming of destroying somebody through murder when triggered. We got very lucky given the programming we were under. So, yeah. So anyways, as far as the Dust Bowl taught the United States to explore better approaches to land management, some of the new methods introduced after the Dust Bowl included strip farming, breaking up the land into bands of alternate planting and fallow land, hedgerows, planting rows of trees along fence lines to break up the wind, terracing. Okay, so there was a reason why they pushed everyone to the west and east. They had to develop the land in a very specific way. Sometimes it's necessary for the government to step in because they have a bird's eye view of the humans and the resistance to change. Okay? I know I spelled that wrong because anyways. So anyways, so you don't want to wake up just everybody. You want to wake up some people, because imagine 39 people descending onto your town. It's not going to happen. All right. So we all did the best we could. And so now we just watch everything. And once everyone does wake up, then it's lockdowns as people resist and go crazy. That's why the system does this very carefully, and incrementally, because they must support the wake up process very carefully. All right. So no matter what happens between now and who knows when, take everything that I've said, find a way to survive it. Don't resist what's going on, because you're outnumbered. If someone says, oh, come over here and fight and do this, what are you fighting? You defend your home, you defend your property, you defend yourself, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing out there to fight and hunt. You defend yourself, not offend. All right, bye.